it's that uncomfortable silence that most people aren't comfortable doing. But if you can, whoever talked first loses, is something that has always been told. But in this case, they're not losing. They're just, you got to be able to be comfortable with not saying anything else and letting them talk, because they will talk and they do want to talk, but they just don't want to talk to the people around them because they're embarrassed of, most of them are embarrassed of what's going on. So they may not tell their family, they may not tell their friends, but a stranger gives them a little bit of comfort as long as you're there to listen. Like, don't, for me, and everybody's different, for me, like, we don't show up with the PowerPoint slides and brochures and other. We literally show up with just a conversation.
Because the management and transparency is what's very important. So once you submit a referral, you're going to have your own Home Advantage account, and it's going to tell you where everything sits. So if you have 10 referrals that you've sent into the network, it's going to give you all 10 referrals. It's going to tell you every milestone that client is sitting in, whether they're touring homes, whether they're in escrow. And you now can manage through the Home Advantage application as far as what your pipeline looks like for the referrals that you've sent. And so it's pretty sophisticated, and it's all click of a button, guys.
And I think we are live, everyone. Welcome. I've got Misti Bruton here with me. Misti, you're in Texas.
I am.
You are a jack of everything, a women's coach, an agent, an ISA for your entire team, and a traveling listing agent as of today. But what have I missed, Misti?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I am traveling today. We are taking a listing and a couple of hours away. So, yeah, I am definitely. I'm in Texas. We cover New Braunfels, San Marcos, Central Texas. I have a team, so we cover a pretty large area, but yeah.
Awesome. And Misti, you have used us for 10 years or more at this point.
Yes.
Quite some time. So you're really experienced with our cash offer leads.
Absolutely.
You and your team have built amazing processes, from calling them and making connection to securing the appointment to securing the listing, everything in between. So super rock star with our leads. And Guillermo, who is a new friend of ours that I have met, which I've heard is also an expert when it comes to cash offer leads. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So I've been in the real estate space since 2004, and the gentleman who I started with was an investor. He owned the brokerage, so I learned everything from the investor side from the very beginning. So we've been making cash offer and all kinds of creative joint venture and all these things type of deals work for going on 19 years.
Wow, that's a lot of time doing cash offers. And I think this will be really interesting because we're talking about winning the listing, but I think that's almost kind of a loaded title because it's still helping the client. If we can find a cash offer, if we can find a solution, and we've got two sides of it. Guillermo, here where you're going for the cash offer, that's what you're trying to make work for the homeowner. But Misti, you're typically going for a listing if it's possible. But I know you've got a whole lot of resources to do something besides a listing if it works out best that way. So I think first, the biggest thing that'll kind of help set this up is talking about the expectation of these leads. Because whenever we're getting them and we're seeing them, Misti, you hear a lot of things like, I need to sell fast, or home might not be in very good condition. It needs a lot of repairs, or I'm upside down. I don't know if I can get out of it, or what other things do you hear?
We have heard, oh my gosh, in all the years of having these leads, I've heard every objection. I have seen every type of house with every issue known to man. Like I've learned not to be surprised on what I'm going to walk into because I just don't know. But that's kind of the beauty of these leads, because there's so much opportunity. These people they've reached out because they have a need, like you said, Jordan. And we don't know what that is. And sometimes they will put up that brick wall, like, oh, I didn't fill that out, or, oh, I'm not ready. We're good. We're just thinking about it. But you got to get really good with those initial conversations, because I have found usually 7 layers deep, there is a massive need. It might be foreclosure that they're facing and they're just embarrassed. It might be a death and they're just not ready to talk to a stranger about it. Divorce, all sorts of things, but we have seen it all and I love it. I love every bit of it.
Yeah. So that, I think that kind of sets the stage for it. In the other thing that we see is these are homeowners that are filling out an advertisement after they see something about getting a cash offer in a home valuation. Here's a chance to sell your home fast. They're going through a questionnaire at that point. But still to your point, there's the initial reluctance. There's the, oh no, I didn't fill something out. And it can be hard to open up about something, typically that's pretty personal, pretty deep, that with a stranger that's on the phone calling them, 2 minutes after they just filled it out. Wow, this is really real. Let's pump the brakes. I didn't fill anything out.
Yeah.
But I think the listing appointment is something we haven't talked about much. And from my assumption, there's a lot of education that needs to happen here, because this is a homeowner that's contemplating a cash offer and a listing. And those are two entirely different things with entirely different outcomes, and timelines for the homeowner. So whenever it comes to getting to the appointment, what are the first things you're talking about whenever it comes to options for them?
You want me to go on that one?
Yeah. Start us off, Guillermo. We
Yeah,
can go
definitely. For me, it's a lot of listening. So I will tell you more times than not, a lead will come in saying they want a cash offer. We will have a conversation with them, setting the appointment, and they will make it very clear they don't want to work with an agent. They are looking for a cash offer. Cool. So if we don't go prepared with all the options, we typically find that we're not bringing to them what they need. So what we normally do is just listen, ask a lot of questions and listen for the first probably 15 minutes. What's going on? Why do we need to sell? How quickly do we need to sell? Is there a bottom dollar net that we need? Like just a thousand questions. And then what we usually find is they don't always want a cash offer. They just said that because they don't want an agent to come in and sell them. The word listing is such a negative for so many people. So they really just kind of put up that front. We want a cash offer. It sounds easy. It sounds like I don't have to deal with the realtor. But what we find more times than not is they want to net the most money. They just don't want the hassle that comes with it. So it's a lot of questions, a lot of really listening and really trying to dig deep on what they need and what's going to be in their best interest.
Yeah. Alex, I see a couple questions you put in here. I want to answer real quick. So these are homeowners that are online, and they're going to be coming from a number of different sources that we host. It's not always about just, getting a cash offer or home valuation. They start out at all these different points that tell us, hey, this is someone potentially that's looking to either buy or sell a home. At that point, they come into our database, and that's where we start using email and text campaigns where we're reaching out to them, letting them know that we have agents in the area that can help them get a cash offer or an valuation on their property to list their home and to sell their home fast. At that point, they're opening the email or the text message, they're clicking a link, and they're going through a series of questions. Things like, how soon are they looking to sell? Will they buy another home? Do they need financing for the next property? Why are they selling? So a number of different things there. I hope that answers some of it. If not, Guillermo, or not Guillermo, Alex, in our Facebook group, we have a lot of other webinars, and we've done a couple with Misti as well that we do, really break this down. Guillermo, sorry, I got a little confused there.
No worries.
Whenever you're talking to them, I assume it's a lot of listening, especially being more on the cash offer side. You're talking to people that are in a little bit more desperate situations. Is that fair to say?
So even though we started as, learning this from the investment side, we obviously will show up and we're happy to take the listing. The thing that I will say, and I'll reinforce what Misti said, was, it's all about questions. And really, if you can just put wrap your mind around, instead of calling it a listing appointment, call it a listening appointment, because that's what you're doing. You're showing up to listen, because I would say 50%, if not higher, of the people that you talk to that say they want a cash offer, they're not really about the money. There's a pain that they want help solving, right? Like, Misti said, there's all kinds of different situations. I've had people where we went in and the mother had died. They hadn't filed probate because they didn't have, money to do so. And the property was about to get foreclosed on. And we were able to join them with a probate attorney, facilitate the filing of the probate, postponing the foreclosure, and then selling it to an investor and cashing them out so that they can not lose what they were literally left by their loved ones, but they just didn't have the money to take advantage of it. So it's arming yourself, like Misty said, with all the different options. And it's more than just showing up like, here's my listing contract, the old saying, press hard, there's 3 copies, back in the old day. It's all about how many different resources can you show up with that are not necessarily your typical resources, but that they're going to be thankful for.
Mhm.
That's awesome. I love that story. So we're talking about different resources. What both of you, what are a handful to an agent, maybe that this is where they're struggling? What are some resources you would say? I think a probate attorney, that could be an excellent one, especially if you're dealing with these cash offer, more desperate style of leads. It would be amazing to have a connection there. But what else would you have as an option or a resource?
For me, I would say that, we back during the last crash in 2008, I worked for a nonprofit and help people with loan modifications. So we provide them, if it's something where they're behind on their mortgage, we provide them information on things that they, want to talk to their lender about, even get on the phone with them and their lender, no, not charging them anything. Because what I always tell people, if you can save somebody a house, they're going to refer you 30 other people. Right. So it's not always about, let me go get this property, whether it be a listing or, make a cash offer, but definitely, having the resources to understand how to help people through loan modification, short sales, and then also making sure you have a pocket full of real cash investors that can perform. The worst thing you can do to somebody is tell them that you've got a cash offer, show up with not a real cash offer or with an investor that can't perform.
Absolutely. And then the other thing that's becoming popular, we're not affiliates of this company. We just work really well together, Zoodealeo.
Mhm.
And Misty, I know I need to get you something for that, that you'd
Actually,
messaged
I
me.
connected with them and got what I wanted, so I'm really excited to add it. Yeah.
Awesome. So Zoodealeo, for anyone who doesn't know, in Zoodealeo, because I always get asked about this when I bring it up. It's a super cool platform. They have nationwide venture capital companies to where you can submit pictures of a homeowner's property, and they will put in several different cash offers with closing timelines, what it'll be in a commission. It's not called a commission, but actually a referral to the agent as well. For going with these different companies. So that's an amazing one. And I believe that they can get the cash offer, some of them in as few as 24 hours. Some of them take 36 to 48 hours and they need more photos, but initial cash offers on the spot within a day.
Mhm.
Super cool. Misty, we've talked about this before, but there's a company that you work with, if I remember correctly, that will help finance repairs for a property to get it
Oh,
listed.
yes, that is a huge resource. So, yeah, we work with Curbio. I don't know
That's
if they're nationwide. We're in Texas. But any kind of we've had really good luck with them, but I know there's other companies out there that do that. In fact, we're reaching out to a couple that had initiated conversations with us, but that's always an amazing connection. If somebody, a lot of these houses are in really, dire straits with whatever and could have major remodeling issues. If you are going to put it on the market and you are, finding a need where getting repairs would actually equal a lot more net income to that buyer, finding a company that can finance it and pay at closing is really great, because most of these people, at least most of the ones in our area, they don't have a lot of cash. That's why they've reached out to an ad that says buy my house cash.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's worked really well. Well, now that the market's shifting, we're doing that a little bit more than we did previously.
Yeah. Victor said Curbio is in California as
Oh,
well.
cool. I
So
like Curbio. I can only speak for the one that I use in my area, because I know I don't know if they're franchised or what it is, but I've heard good and bad. Ours is amazing. Yeah.
absolutely.
For us, we partner with local contractors, and we ourselves will fund rehab or clean outs and things like that for, when we take a listing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is, yeah. Sorry, I'm making notes here. This is something that I've started doing on webinars. I just jot down like this super ugly page of notes and then I post it in the comments afterwards. But people seem to like it because it's like the bullet points.
Oh yeah, the bullet points are awesome. So is most everybody that joins in on this webinar, they're probably new or thinking about zBuyer? Is that kind of the
Yeah,
audience?
typically, and we see a lot of people that are actively using us as
Okay.
well, that are trying to get, some more leverage. What can I do? How can I, increase my conversion? Jose said that they just joined. One thing I want to circle back to, Guillermo, you talked about listening so much. Misty, you talked about listening. And I think this is a whole nother topic for a next webinar. But why do we call it a listing appointment? It sounds like it should be a listening appointment. I don't know. I think it's cool. What are you doing though, whenever you walk in to these people that are clearly in some type of distress or, bad situation? It's not something they want to talk about. What are you doing to get them to open up for you to be able to listen? How are you breaking that barrier to make them comfortable with you, to really go into what their situation is?
Well, you kind of start that when you first have the initial conversations, right?
Mhm.
You have to build rapport with them, and then also when you get there, they may not want to tell everybody that they know about what's going on, but they really do want to talk about it. So, I mean, I really just start with, so tell me what's going on. And just, it's that uncomfortable silence that most people aren't comfortable doing. But
Uh-huh.
if you can, whoever talk first loses is something that has always been told. But in this case, they're not losing. They're just, you got to be able to be comfortable with not saying anything else and letting them talk, because they will talk and they do want to talk, but they just don't want to talk to the people around them because they're embarrassed of, most of them are embarrassed of what's going on. So they may not tell their family, they may not tell their friends, but a stranger gives them a little bit of comfort as long as you're there to listen. Like, don't, for me, and everybody's different. For me, like, we don't show up with the PowerPoint slides and brochures and other. We literally show up with just a conversation.
Yeah.
Can I answer Jennifer? I just saw it pop in. Jennifer's question, how to start the conversation on the phone, Jordan?
Yeah. Yeah. Go for it.
I think that is so incredibly critical with how you start it. So I've done different variations, but my standard go-to, I pretty much just tell them up front, hey, this is Misty. I'm with Ava Realty. We work in your area. I got your inquiry and I'm reaching out to find out how I can help you. And really just, they'll either talk right then with, oh yes, or they'll shut down and they're like, because they may get other calls. They may have filled out other, forms online and gotten other calls. You may get yelled at. There's a lot of different variations. But what happens then is if you can allow them to vent, especially the angry ones, right? They're going through something. Maybe somebody just died. Maybe they just got, filed paperwork where, divorce. Who knows what it is, but if you can get through that initial barrier of them, they start to talk, and like we said earlier, just kind of listening to them. It's all about just go for the appointment. And the way you get the appointment with these zBuyers is telling them that you've got options. I'm not your typical agent. Yes, I'm licensed. I disclose that, but I have lots of options. And if I can meet with you, there's no obligation, there's no pressure. I'm here to consult you and help you come up with a solution. More times than not, we get these appointments set, and then the magic happens when you can get in front of them.
Absolutely. Back to an earlier point, I think it's about educating. These are homeowners that, I think it wouldn't be too much of a reach to say are frightened. They don't know what to do. They don't know what is the best option. Where do I even start? I am upside down. I have no idea what to do. And they're looking for someone who can come in as an educator, not to try and hard sell them and sign here, let's get it on the market, but to help them understand what position they're in, what options they have, and what's the best option. What does each option entail? And what is that going to do for them in the end?
Yeah, I think if you can put yourself in their shoes, which is where I think we succeed more times than not, We know that there's a need because we know the source that they came in on, and 99% of the time there's a deep-seated need that they're not ready to share with the world. But if you can get in that with them, into the trenches with them, and feel whatever they're going through, and really build that rapport through that, then you got to lose the commission breath with these leads. They will sniff it out a million miles away. So you truly have to go in with that consultant hat of whatever this ends with, I'm okay. If it ends that I just connect them with the right person and I get them to a lawyer and I never do business, that's fine. I'm here to solve their problem. And then, I mean, we've had that happen and they come back with referrals. We get more referrals from our zBuyer leads than we get from anybody else because they're so thankful if you take the time to listen and help them solve the problem, whatever the problem is.
Back
Yeah,
to
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was saying back to Guillermo's, story that he brought up, helping one person can lead to 30 referrals.
It 100%. And I share this on every webinar that we do, Jordan, but
Yeah.
so many times we've sold these $80,000-$100,000 listings and we're thinking, oh my gosh, this is like way below our price point. But then we get referrals for 350, 400. I've had $1 million referrals from these people because they're so grateful. And so it makes it fun to go out and help them.
Yeah, and I think that what you said, Misty, is something that we should reinforce is be okay with walking away, and don't have any expectations because everybody else who's calling them and that they're talking to is high pressure. So
right.
that in itself, if you can learn how to master that, to not have, attach feelings to the appointment, that is going to set you apart from everybody else right off bat.
100%. I have totally lost all expectations on this. I do not care if I list it. I do not care if we buy it. I do not care if I sell it to somebody else. I truly do not care. It is made just going in and helping people. It's taken it to a whole different level. And when you can kind of get there with these leads, it is a game changer. And I've been with them, like Jordan said, long enough that I've seen how it plays out. So it's harder when you're brand new. I struggled when I was brand new because I was like, this is not bringing the fruit that I wanted. I'm not getting listings. But then after being with them, 6 months and a year and now 10 years or whatever it's been, I look back over it and I'm like, oh my gosh, so glad we stuck it out. Best lead source ever.
I didn't pay you to say that.
But I'm here. So
Yeah.
you know that. You don't pay me
Absolutely.
to say that, but I do. I mean, I love it.
Yeah. I know we were talking about listing appointments, but we've had a couple questions about, the phone call, getting to the listing, which I think these are just as important. How do you deal with the question upon introduction? What's your offer? I'm not interested to meet unless you give me an offer.
I personally
I'm
would.
curious. Yeah.
So I personally tell them, well, when you're ready to have a real offer, that you've got my number. Because if I gave you any number right now, it wouldn't be a real offer. I'd just be giving you a number just to get you to let me in the door. So if you want me to be able to walk the property and know exactly what I can offer you, then I'm happy to do that and not, obligate you to anything. Obviously, I'm a little bit more eloquent when I speak it, but that's the message is I tell them up front, any offer I give you right now isn't going to be a real offer because I haven't seen the property.
I like it. But it's direct. And I think it's what the homeowner needs to hear. I can't give you an offer. I haven't seen the property. I don't know any specifics. Anything I give you right now is going to be a discredit to your home. How often, whenever you say that, Guillermo, are you getting a response back of, okay, when can we meet? When can you look at it? How often do they cave?
Well, it usually goes to the next step in the conversation. Usually when you say that is, well, I can tell you all about my property. I was like, yeah, I believe you and that's great, but I still got to walk it. There might be things that are going on with your property that you don't even know because you're not in construction. You haven't rehabbed a house. You're living in it. And I just need to walk it for my investors that I represent. And for us as an investor, we need to see it for ourselves. So, it goes back and forth like that. And then I'd say about 70 to 80% of the people do schedule an appointment. You still get those 20, well, the ones that get angry or, you're full of it, then you can't give me an offer. And that's fine. But then even some of those will end up calling back after somebody who does give them an offer over the phone falls through.
Yeah. I love it. Misty, I've got one for you. Carl says, 32 years in the business, new to zBuyer, finding it difficult to have exchange with the leads I've been given. What methods have you found are the most effective to initiate meaningful conversations?
So a lot of times they will become long-term nurtures. So you need to have a solid follow-up plan in place. For us, we reach out really heavy in the first like 7 to 10 days. 3 times a day, we're trying to call, text, email, and then we back off a little bit. We always put them on a home value, like automated through our CRM. So they're getting pretty emails monthly, but we either get them on those first couple of calls or they become nurtures, and they're both equally as valuable. So don't get frustrated. I hear this a lot with people that are brand new to zBuyer, and they may only have like 50 leads or maybe 100, and they're not having the success yet. You just haven't found that magic number yet. Trust me when I say they're good leads. I'll open up my CRM and show you guys. Oh, well, actually, my CRM has a beautiful chart. zBuyer is our #1 lead source by far on what we close. But when you get into that conversation, it's, it's just like any other appointment, except you got to have those options. But sometimes it takes time. Remember, they had a need initially. They filled something out online because they were having a pain point. But then the next day they're in denial, just like we all do, right? We have a need. We're like, oh, I got to deal with this. And then we're like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. They're not going to answer your calls. They're watching though. Every email, every text, every communication that you give them, they're watching, and eventually they will answer. Our magic point is at 7 months in our database with zBuyers. So nurturing 7 months.
Awesome. Let's see, we're right at the end here. I want to wrap up a couple things because we talked about a lot of like really good stuff. Number one, I'm going to get this tattooed. I think it's a listening appointment, not a listing appointment. And I think there's so much more that goes into that than what people are thinking. But it's truly about showing up to listen, to understand the situation they're in, and understand how you can best help the homeowner. You're not there to list them. You're there to be an educator, a professional in the field that they've asked for help with. Sources, we talked about probate attorney, having one in your back pocket, someone that you know that can help. Loan modification, working with lenders to help homeowners. Having a network of investors, investing yourself, or other services like Zoodealeo that are great to help you prepare cash offers. Curbio for repairs in the states that they are in, or Guillermo, you talked about partnering with local contractors, your brokerages financing up front and then taking that back whenever it sells. And then I think the initial conversation, showing up to the appointment, it's just simple. I think you said it best, Guillermo. What's going on? And whoever talks first loses. Just opening up the air and allowing the homeowner to be vulnerable. I feel like sometimes, there's too much talking happening from our side, trying to draw too much out, and it can lead to fake responses. It can lead to brush offs, and it can lead to, you got an answer, so you're right into the next question, rather than just letting them talk and get it off their chest. Once you start peeling back the layers, the others fall off a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything
sounds like a pretty good summary to me.
Yeah, very good.
Guillermo, it's been a pleasure having you on here. I was glad we got to meet. I think we need to have a conversation and get you and your brokerage some zBuyer leads, especially as much cash offer stuff as you're doing. I think this could be amazing. Misty, you've already got them. You love them.
Yeah, I love them.
Awesome. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Jake's been putting in the chat. There's a link there to where you can go book a demo with us. Get 15 free leads when you sign up and get 10% off your first month. It's a great way to step into it, the discount, but then the free leads as well. It's giving you extra. Like Misty said, some of these take some time. There's some nurture. You've really got to work these. You've got to have a database set up to nurture these long-term. So we're trying to give you some extra upfront. No matter if you buy 20 leads or you buy 200 leads, we're going to give you some extra to help get you there. Anything else, anyone?
I think
Yeah.
we covered it. It was good stuff.
Jake,
Stay consistent. That's the only thing I'd add.
yeah,
Very.
absolutely. Jake, thank you so much for keeping us going and keeping us live. Everyone, thank you for sitting in. Been a pleasure. Bye.
Guys, have a great day.
Bye.